Hello, I'm Eleni Jakas and welcome to Connecting Africa. Among other things, every month we look at how a more interconnected continent could benefit the business community. And this month is no different. We'll be hearing from some of Africa's keenest minds as they plot a path to a brighter business future. Regular viewers of business news will know that it is filled with important initials, abbreviations and acronyms. There's a CEO and a COO here, a B2B and a FTSE over there. Our first story is no different as we head to Ghana for a meeting of the Africa Economic Zones Organization, also known as IZO. In simple terms, a special economic zone is a geographical area within a country where the rules of business are different to those that apply in the rest of the country. The general idea is that they should attract investors, which should, in turn, have a positive impact on areas such as job creation and social projects.
Africa Economic Zones Organization is a continental association leading public and private institution in charge of the development, management and promotion of economic zones across the continent. The association was established in November 2015 by Tangermet Group in Morocco, the leading industrial and logistic hub in Africa and the Mediterranean region, with the objective to strengthen relationship among African economic zones, bringing together today more than 82 members representing 42 countries.
IZO's 6th annual meeting took place in Ghana at the end of last year and featured many influential figures when it comes to discussing how best to conduct business on the continent.
COVID-19 has been something that has hit the world, but it's also hit Africa in the sense that for supply chains, including food supply chains, it became so clear that logistics and trade is very important. So in that context, we saw that in Africa, because they considered food essential, they allowed for movement of essential goods, including foods, to travel. It became so clear that if there is a problem with logistics and trade, this would trigger inflation, this would trigger supply side issues. So COVID-19 showed us that Africa needs to have much more resilient supply chains. It also meant that Africa needs to invest in logistics and infrastructure.
IZO, African Economic Zone Organization, is a really important partner for us. We need to promote investment for development. Now, promoting investment involves a lot of different stakeholders: regulators, investment authorities, investment promotion agencies, and in recent years, special economic zones have become a really important actor for the promotion and facilitation of foreign direct investment. Why specifically special economic zones? Because the type of investment that is attracted by zones and in zones is so important. It's manufacturing investment, industry investment.
This conference is very important to all of us, especially in the private sector, to open up the intercontinental free trade for the private sector to enable us to create more jobs for our people. And also in the sector of manufacturing, this is the time for us to capitalize on the manufacturing, especially job creation, sustainability, and development of our continent.
One of the main things is that when we bring our heads together, we'll be able to benefit in terms of sharing ideas, sharing platforms, sharing technology. These are some of the areas that we can benefit. But what is IZO all about? Economic zones are mainly getting together industrial parks and organized land for business. That is very crucial because if we want to expand business in terms of Africa, you want to manufacture in Morocco, or you want to manufacture in Algeria, or you want to manufacture in Kenya, you need to be able to go to an organization that organizes land for that particular purpose.
IZO is growing fast, Membership is increasing and interest in what it does is growing, which is all good news for Secretary-General Bennis and, perhaps, the continent as a whole.
The SEZ have demonstrated to be a practical instrument to foster regional industrial policy and could serve as an important platform for scaling up regional productions and exports, boosting intra-regional trade, promoting greater competitiveness in regional manufacturing industries, and supporting the implementation of the Continental Agreement. So we are confident that the economic zones can help rethinking the economic model. So we should rely on our resources and develop a regional value chain complementarity between the African countries.
Plenty of food for thought there from a wide selection of people who are determined to see Africa prosper. Welcome back. In this show, we've already heard from some prominent voices who have strong opinions on the best way to conduct business on the continent. And we caught up with them at an event in Ghana. For our next guest, we cross the border and head to Lagos, where we meet the recently appointed Group Managing Director of one of Africa's largest reinsurance companies. When it comes to the reinsurance industry in Africa, there's not much that Lawrence Nazare doesn't know. After training as a lawyer, he transferred his skills to reinsurance, and he now has more than 3 decades of experience under his belt. So, how does he define the business he works in?
Reinsurance, in a nutshell, is really insurance for insurance companies. It is really the second level of insurance. After the insurance company insures its direct client, the reinsurer takes whatever risk the insurance company cannot cover under its own balance sheet. That's really what reinsurance is about. We all have our capacity to do things dependent upon our financial resources, and even insurance companies don't have adequate financial resources to protect the largest risk exposures. So they then lay off part of their risk exposures to reinsurance companies.
Last year, he was appointed as Group Managing Director of Continental Reinsurance. Its headquarters is in these shiny new offices in Lagos, Nigeria. Nazare has a strong sense of where he wants to take the company.
The key thing that we have always talked about as a business is building a sustainable business model. Sustainable for the long term, not only for our shareholders, but for our people, our clients, and also, I think, building a business that's not only premised or anchored on the profit motive, but on purpose. We would like to build a great enterprise that's premised on both profit and purpose. You need the profit for you to be able to still enjoy the benefit of shareholders' capital, but you also need a purpose for you to be able to execute successfully. You're happy?
A veteran of working across the continent, he believes that the size of Africa presents unique challenges.
I think Africa is large. Africa is a huge continent. So just the distances, I think, makes it a daunting task. Traveling in Africa, when I started traveling, was not easy. Connectivity in Africa is not easy. Making sure that you are there on the ground and interacting with your teams can be difficult. It's proving to be a lot easier now post-COVID, doing it digitally, but at one point we had to be physically traveling. The other very challenging element in setting up businesses is that because of our diversity, I think African regulation has been quite fragmented. From one country, one region to another, you've got to navigate fairly complex, different regulatory frameworks. That has proved to be quite difficult.
Improving trade links across the continent is, he believes, critical to its development.
Africa continental free trade area is an absolute imperative. I think for our business it's very exciting because of the promises that you are seeing, one of which primarily is a promise of a level playing field, a harmonized regulatory framework, no barriers to trade, free movement of labor, absolutely important. If you've got certain talent resources that you don't have in one country, at least you're able to move your people. Right now, if you look at The challenges we face in terms of moving our people around, it is quite daunting. The other one is diversification of your investments, making sure that you are able to diversify your investments, which is also an imperative. Investments are a very, very critical component of our business. And you are able to do that, spread your capital around much, much better if you have got a free trade area.
Nazara has seen some businesses on the continent prosper and develop. He thinks they should play a key role in Africa's future.
I think the script for Africa's future success story must be written by great African businesses. Our markets are small individually. Those great African businesses must be allowed to spread their wings, take advantages of opportunities across the continent. Key to that is we must execute professionally for us to be able to build those great African businesses. We are on a fairly steep growth trajectory in Africa. We must build an environment that allows those enterprises to grow and thrive. I think it's absolutely important.
Some pretty inspirational thoughts there from somebody with plenty of experience of working across the continent. Hi, this is Connecting Africa, the show in which we look at the working world in every corner of the continent. Many people will know that when travel allows, I love to visit Egypt. The entrepreneurial flair of its people always inspires me. Next, we visit energy and infrastructure giant Al Saudi Electric. Established in 1938 as a family-run company, it now has over 14,000 employees and a presence in more than a dozen African countries. Softly spoken but fiercely focused, Ahmed Al Saudi is a passionate man. He's passionate about his business, his country, and the African continent.
Africa is great. If I travel once per week, once per year to Europe, I travel 10 times to Africa. And I'm really always happy to travel to Africa. It's nice that in our business, when you do something, and a lot of people benefit from what you are doing. And you see there's a big development, and you see people are benefiting, and people have better living. Because I think the main purpose of our business is mainly for all people around us to have better living, to have better future. So if you are not able to do this for us, for the society, for the country, for the continent, then it's meaningless.
Amongst many other things, what his company involves itself in is massive energy projects throughout Africa.
Really, there's a lot of projects we are proud of. I'm very proud of the project of Tanzania, especially that this project in Tanzania will make a big difference of the country. And it's a big dream for all Tanzanians, and big dream also for Egyptians and for Africans, because it's from Africa to Africa. The same thing, electricity which will be generated will help a lot in the industrialization of Tanzania, which is a great thing. The same will help in irrigation. So it's a lot of things that can be done with one project. And this is really our main hope, how each project we do make a big difference in the lives of the people and even benefit our company and give good experience.
Helping him realize his and his company's ambitions is the vice president who heads up the engineering and construction business. He says he relishes the opportunities that come with working for a pan-African business.
Africa has been always underdeveloped, so the opportunities are tremendous. In every sector, you will find that there are lots of needs, and needs creates the business opportunities.
Like his boss, he believes that a more connected continent will lead to a better Africa.
We are close to each other in terms of culture, in terms of understanding values, and this is very important. Africa was always considered for its natural resources. So that's why the 90% of the business in Africa until very recent was extractive activities. Africa was the mine and the crude oil well for many other locations of the world. When you are part of this location, then you start have different perspectives to things. So you look at those resources as a tool, not as a goal. So unlike many companies that are doing business or countries that are involved in business in Africa, they have a goal to get those resources. As Africans and being part of this, we look at this as a tool to enhance the infrastructure and to enhance the life and the well-being of people in Africa.
100% with more connected Africa, things will be much better and people can travel from place to another and transferring technologies all around and helping each other. Of course, you can see what happened in the European Union, the same in a lot of other places. By connecting countries, it's really make a big difference in the living of people.
A big company with big ideas for itself and the continent. See you after the break when we head to the vineyards of South Africa. Hello again. If you've got any interest in accents, you will probably have picked up on the fact that I'm from South Africa. It's a beautiful country that is famous the world over for many things. Among them, the delicious wines produced from the country's climate and terrain. The wine industry in South Africa is well developed, growing rapidly since the country embraced democracy in 1994. Around 270,000 people are employed directly or indirectly within the industry. 319 million litres of wine were exported in 2020. While a lot of the wine ends up in Europe and the United States, African countries are also significant importers, with some playing a more important role than others. Now, between them, Angola, Ghana, Nigeria and Mozambique consume more than 50% of the wine imported in Africa. Bot River in Western Cape is a beautiful part of the world. It's a place where Daphne Netling has chosen to live and work. She is one of very few female black vineyard owners.
I think Pardon Kloof has a big role to play in putting out the fact that black-owned farms and black-owned brands can produce quality. There's excellence in what we do, and I think that's important that people get to understand that, and that you need to not be from a certain background to produce excellence.
She is still growing her brand, but believes in the future, and the rest of Africa could prove to be an excellent opportunity to export.
We've got a small representation in Europe, Netherlands, Belgium and Germany, which is your high value market, but we're looking at local, growing the African continent, the business that you find on the African continent. There are people doing great work in already opening trade relations with all the African countries. There's many free trade agreements and also custom unions that helps with improving the intra-trade that exists on the continent.
Less than an hour's drive from the Pardon Kloof estate is another stunning property that produces world-class wines. Anthony Hamilton Russell is now the owner of a business that was started by his father.
It was a passion project for him, something that was never meant to make money, but something he had done extraordinarily well. It's looking really good.
When sanctions were lifted at the end of apartheid, Russell sensed that there might be increased opportunities for the business.
So the goal really was to just find good distributors, to think of a strategy of where we should export, how much we should export, and how to go about it. And I'm now proud that nearly 31 years later, we're in 65 different countries. We've exported to Africa all along, and a lot of it has been requests that we've satisfied from people, catering both for locals and tourism, or Africans and tourism, And that is something that just from a sheer brand visibility point of view is very important to us. And also just the emotional need to succeed in Africa. We are an African producer.
Russell accepts that for him, at the moment, the African market is still pretty small for his business. But the CEO of Wines of South Africa, whose purpose is to promote South African wines abroad, believes the African continent could eventually provide massive opportunities.
So first of all, Africa is very important for us because we are African. And what we're finding in Africa is it's an emerging continent of wine consumers. They don't know wine, but they are thirsty for knowledge, and they're very excited about hearing more about wine, particularly South African wine, because they feel that South Africa is part of their culture and the continent. So I think that's a given and very important that we establish a footprint in Africa. And we've done some activations as markets have opened up, and we've found that the tasting activations as well as the training courses have been exceptionally well attended and well supported. So for me, I think it's a very bright future for South African wine in Africa, particularly the East Coast and sort of the North area, countries where we're seeing some really good movement at the moment, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria's come back very well, so great recovery in Nigeria, and also some really good interest in Uganda and Ghana.
When it comes to producing great wines for export, South Africa has many factors in its favor. Success seems to be based on whether you're prepared to put in the hard work.
I think I'm a beacon of hope, providing inspiration for so many, that it is possible, that you can actually achieve something with commitment and working in your business every day. I also feel that a lot of people think that it falls from the sky, but it's actually hard work to be part of the hospitality industry, to be part of the wine tourism industry, to be part of the wine industry. You have to show up to work every day, and you have to be committed, and you have to be passionate about what you do, which is the most important thing.
Well, I must admit that looking at those beautiful locations makes me wish I could return home soon, if only for a quick visit and some wine, perhaps. As we look at some of those beautiful images, it's time for us to finish off for the month. For more stories, please take a look at our website. Until then, stay connected.